Hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut channel, and welcome to one of the cleanest GX470s you will ever find. And not because this is a low mile example that's never been used and been parked in a garage and hidden away from the public eye. No, this has over 200,000 miles. And the reason it is one of the cleanest GX470s is because of the owner. The owner of this truck is the original owner of the truck. He have used it to transport stuff, to build his businesses, to do everything. But then, when the truck had 200,000 miles, he made a decision. Should I move away from the truck and buy something else, or should I keep it and completely restore it? And guessing by the title of this video, he actually restored it. Folks, the owner of this car in the past 2 years have been restoring this truck, did everything to it. Grand total of this restoration is $24,000. Some people's hearts will skip a beat when they hear that number, but the math that this owner did makes sense because this is a legend of reliability and dependability. This is a really good truck. This is basically a fancy Toyota Prado, which could last multi-100,000 miles without issues, but he wanted it not just to last multi-100,000 miles without issues, he wanted it to be perfect, and this thing is perfect. I've worked on this truck before and there's been so much done to it, and we're going to take a look at it in this video. It will blow your mind, the attention to detail and the level of perfection that this truck is. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos if you are a returning subscriber. Well, thank you so much for watching another one of my videos, and without further ado, let's go check this thing out. Let's start under the hood, folks, and this is potentially one of Toyota/Lexus best engines ever. This is the 2UZ FE, the mighty 4.7 liter V8. I love this V8 so much. You guys have seen it through the channel. I really like this V8. This is one of the best engines they ever made. And believe it or not, in case you didn't see this before when we talked about the LS430, this engine was actually certified for airplanes. That's how good this engine is. Never was used in an airplane, but it was nonetheless certified, and that is a huge deal. But the things that were done to this engine, and the owner was kind enough to give me a list of things just so we can have it in one, and I'll post it on the video here. There is a lot of things done here. Some of the things that are, he called it engine improvements. He has an AFE throttle spacer. There's some modifications as well. He wanted this thing not only to be back to OEM, he wanted it to be a little better, and some of these modifications are actually expensive. There's an AFE throttle body spacer, there's an AFE cold air intake, which sounds really nice. I'll put a clip here of the running of this car. There's a cold air intake, there's a catback exhaust here, there's a throttle body booster, and there is, he actually wrote it as new intake manifolds. They're actually exhaust manifolds. Something that was notorious with this engine. The exhaust manifolds would develop cracks, and then they start rattling in the morning when you start it, and they flutter, and you get an exhaust leak. Very expensive and difficult to replace. I remember how difficult they were because I actually replaced them on this truck. Both exhaust manifolds, OEM, nothing aftermarket here. That was quite a operation, and it's a very expensive one. These manifolds are very expensive, and the labor is out there. And then he put a new AC compressor, new timing belt. I remember that. There was nothing wrong with the AC compressor, and I told him, why are we replacing the AC compressor? He already bought it. He bought a Denso unit. I still remember it. He just wanted it replaced. He did not want, while we had the timing belt off and everything, he just wanted it replaced, so he knows that it's new and it's good. New power steering pump. Something notorious with these is, as they get older, when the weather is really cold, especially here in the Chicago area, this power steering pump would start whining, and that is something that really bothered him. He just didn't want it to whine, and we replaced the power steering pump. New battery, complete front and rear suspension overhaul. And I remember this one as well. So something with these trucks, the ball joints were starting to go. I think it was the upper ball joints. I told him we could press out the ball joints, other control arms, and try to replace them. He was like, no, we want to do everything right. We want to do the control arms because the bushings were old and starting to tear up, but they were not loose yet. He was like, I want to do this once and be done with it for the next 200,000 miles. So we did upper, lower control arms. He have already replaced the hubs prior to that. We also did the struts and the mounts, and these are adjustable struts because this car originally was a comfort luxury model. We did the struts with the mounts, with the actuator on top. Everything was replaced. And this truck originally had air suspension in the back. That's already been converted to coil spring because he wanted it more of a sporty ride. That's why he did the modifications here. And we'll take a quick peek underneath this truck so you can see how it is. But the biggest thing that he did, as soon as he decided to kind of keep this truck and restore it, is pressure wash the frame and spray it professionally. Because one thing with these trucks that would kill them is rust. I've told you this in a previous video. This is one of the best trucks you can ever buy, except if they're rusty. This one, because he was the original owner, he took care of it from day one. It didn't have a lot of rust on the frame, and he sprayed it, and it looks beautiful actually underneath. And then I have a story to share with you about this truck, and the reason we are in this corner of the truck is very specific. So right around maybe 6 to 8 months ago, I don't remember the exact date, unfortunately, the owner of the truck, there was one of those big rocks at the exit of a gas station or a shopping center. He did not see it. He made a sharp turn, and he actually went over it and hit it with force. What that did was it pushed the tire back, and it damaged the running board. The sad thing is, literally 2 months before that, we took these running boards off because some of the lights were fogged up and yellow, and he didn't like them, and they were falling apart from rust. So I took these running boards, we literally replaced everything underneath these running boards. They were beautiful, perfect, and then that happened. He was so upset because he's just spent a lot of money on we just did the suspension, the manifolds, and everything. I told him, look, it's not the end of the world. We can fix it, but I know this hurts because he really loves this truck. I told him, leave the truck with me and I will car care nut style fix it. There was actually no body work here because initially we thought maybe the hub was bent, so I replaced the hub and bearing, but it was still, this tire was literally pushed almost all the way here. So what it ended up being, the whole axle beam, and I'll show you some pictures from when I did that, the whole axle beam was bent. Now, in case you don't know this shares a lot with the 4Runner as well. I know some people, when I say that, they say, no, this is a Prado. It's actually a 4Runner as well. It's the same platform as a 4Runner. So the rear differential was from a 4Runner, the axles, the whole rear suspension was from a 4Runner. Initially, when we were doing the front suspension, he asked me about, what about the rear suspension? Do we need to do anything? This rear suspension on these trucks literally will last the life of the truck twice over. Bulletproof, nothing really happens with them. The airbag was already replaced. That's really about the only thing. But we had to replace everything in the back. I mean, everything was bent. Unfortunately, the rear axle carrier was shifted and bent, and the whole arms were bent. So we replaced everything here. So now not only is the front suspension all new, the rear suspension is also all new. I'll show you a few pictures here because this was a massive undertaking and a massive job. We ended up replacing the running board, the whole running board, even the insides. I had to do a little bit of body work to push, because it was pulled from the body and I had to push it back up. Took really long time to get it perfect, but it is perfect. There's no gaps. Everything looks beautiful. I was really happy with this job. It was an insurance job. The insurance was a little tough because, you know, they want to go used parts, and he did not. Everything here was replaced new and original. Nothing was aftermarket, no zip ties, nothing. It looks OEM 100%. And the minute we finished this job, he took it to his undercoating guy and had the new differential undercoated so it never rusts. The old one had a little bit of rust on it, but this one is basically brand new. Let's take a look at this interior. There has been so much done here. First of all, just look at this. This is a timeless interior. I love the interior of these Lexuses. The GXs is very similar to the Prado, nothing really have changed, but there's been a lot modified here. The first thing is the seat. You see this leather is a little bit wrinkled up here because he had the seat reupholstered. All the foam is new here because it was sagging and he didn't like it. And this is a driver's seat, you're always gonna be on it. But let's look at the miles. We have 229 and 74 miles. One thing you'll notice if you own a GX, the steering wheel is actually not original because this is a black trim at the top. The wood is, these usually have wooden trim. This has black trim, and this steering wheel is actually from a Prado. He just imported it, new leather on it. Everything that was wooden trim has been wrapped in this color. It's like grayish, it's a very beautiful color. It just matches all the interior. Looks beautiful. And over here in the center console, I remember doing this. We replaced some of these pieces that were kind of scratched, and you could see if one scratch remains here, and this is something on his list that he wants to replace. But all of this has been replaced. I remember I replaced it. Shift knob. This handbrake handle had an issue where it was seizing up and not locking. Well, this is actually new. This leather is brand new. This whole handle is new. Same thing with the boot, with the leather boot here. I mean, the level of attention of detail to this interior is incredible. This is an aftermarket head unit. Beautiful, beautiful interior here. Headliner has no rips, no stains, no nothing. And speaking of the headliner, let's go in the back and I'll show you something else that he's done. So at some point, he was using this truck to transport things. And you could see a little bit of wear and tear here on the plastic here. But some of that wear and tear was on this piece of the headliner, the gray piece. He actually had that replaced. Folks, this is extremely expensive to replace. Headliner pieces are usually very expensive. But he's committed, he had this replaced, and you'll see that in the numbers that he put together for this truck. Beautiful truck. Look at this headliner. Can you believe this is a car this old with this many miles? Beautiful truck. And of course, the iconic side opening door of the GX. I love it. I love this truck so much. I've had the pleasure of working on it, and it is just a pleasure every time I see it. Let's take a look underneath it. Here's that new suspension. Everything here is new, folks. And these CV boots I actually also replaced. Just the boots, one of them was torn and we ended up replacing all four just to make sure everything is good for him. Frame is all coated. I don't see any rust on this guy. Really in good shape. This shield is something that we've talked about. It does have a little bit of rust, but not to a point where we need replacement. He was ready to replace it, but we'll leave it for now. Let's go look at the back suspension. Here's the back, and the first thing you notice, the towing hitch has been replaced because usually these rust out really bad, and this one's been replaced. It looks beautiful. Spare tire, you'll notice a zip tie here. I remember this chain being, these have a chain for safety, you can lock them up. It was dangling around and making noise over bumps, and he didn't like it, so we put a zip tie to hold it up so it wouldn't rattle around. But here's that brand new rear end. It just looks beautiful. All the arms, all the suspensions were replaced here. I mean, everything. And look at that frame. It's all coated. Here's that catback exhaust. This thing is in beautiful shape, folks. I remember doing this rear end. What a pleasure it is to work on this truck because the owner takes care of it, loves it, and you just don't have owners like that. Beautiful, beautiful truck. It's unbelievable that you see a truck in this area that has zero rust like this because everything's been coated and recoated. Every year he takes it back and gets things touched up to make sure nothing else starts rusting or, you know, scraped away or something. Beautiful truck. This is a good truck to begin with. The Lexus GX, if you're ever shopping around and you see one that is in good shape, has no rust, been taken care of, maybe lower miles, these are really good trucks. But this is just a special one. I mean, this owner is so committed to perfection, not just, oh, let's just get it fixed up and go. No, he's committed to perfection. Even cosmetics have been taken care of. The only thing that remains, and he purposefully leaves it like that, the front bumper has a tiny crack in it. Somebody backed into it, and that was that. He's not doing that because he does not want to compromise the original paint. Plus, he believes that there should be one thing that is broken with it, just to not have it 100% perfect, just 99.9. That's how this owner is. Folks, this owner truly takes pride in this truck, loves the truck, really takes care of it, and is involved. He does things himself, some things, bigger things we do for him. Other stuff others do. He's just involved. He loves this truck, and rightfully so, because he chose a truck that was good to begin with. Folks, if you see one of these trucks for sale, you've seen this list. I'll put it up on the screen one more time. These are actually the common problems with these trucks. You know, the exhaust manifolds, the suspension, especially that adaptable, adjustable suspension in the front. They do have issues with struts leaking, that airbags in the back, after so many years and they get older in age, they're gonna start leaking and the truck sags down. Converted, because he used to have the air suspension, and when he switched to the coil springs, he barely noticed any difference. So there is that for you. Other things, you know, the maintenance, the timing belt, the power steering wind, these are all common problems with these. There are a few other odds and ends with these, but they really don't have anything catastrophic. Transmission, bulletproof. Engine, other than the timing belt, they're really bulletproof. They don't have many issues. Even oil leaks, very rare, and the most of it is a valve cover. And this one still has the original valve cover, so it's not leaking and there's no issues with that. Folks, I hope this video was helpful, informative. I hope you learned something new. I hope everybody takes pride in their car and takes care of it and makes the correct decisions. Was it a correct decision to spend $24,000 restoring this truck to this beautiful state? In this case, it was actually worth it because the truck was clean to begin with. It needed a refreshment. Yes, some of the things he's done maybe were not needed, but he wanted to have the peace of mind and have this truck. Basically, this is basically brand new at this point. It'll run forever, and as long as he keeps up with the rust and keeps coating it, he will not have issues. Folks, if you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.